John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois, the second of three children in a working-class family. His early life was marred by hardship. His father, a World War I veteran, was an abusive alcoholic who often took out his frustrations on his children, instilling a deep-seated fear and resentment in young John. Despite the tumultuous home environment, Gacy was a bright student, known for his jovial nature and desire to please. But beneath the surface, the seeds of darkness began to sprout. In 1960, at the age of 18, Gacy left home for a brief period, seeking independence and perhaps a fresh start. He settled in the Chicago suburb of Des Plaines and soon became involved in local politics and community events. Gacy was charismatic and eager to integrate himself into the fabric of his community. He joined the JCs, a community service organization, where he quickly made a name for himself through his enthusiasm and efforts in organizing events. However, Gacy's sociable exterior masked a chilling reality. By the mid-1970s, he was leading a double life. While he was known as Pogo the Clown, a beloved figure at children's parties and local events, he was also a predator, luring young boys into his home with promises of work, money, or simply companionship. Gacy's charming demeanor and community involvement provided an impenetrable facade, allowing him to escape suspicion as he picked his victims, often boys aged 15 to 18, who were vulnerable and seeking acceptance. The timeline of Gacy's heinous acts began in earnest in 1972 when he committed his first known murder. The victim was 15-year-old John Butkovich, who vanished after leaving home for a meeting with Gacy about a potential job. Gacy lured him to his home, where he would ultimately lead him into a nightmare. It was a gruesome initiation into a series of killings that would horrify the nation. Over the next few years, Gacy would go on to murder at least 29 young men and boys, his method becoming disturbingly routine. He would often lure them with the promise of work, sometimes even impersonating a police officer to gain their trust. Once they were in his house, he would overpower them, using ligatures to strangle them into submission. Gacy's home, a modest two-story house in Norwood Park, became the site of unimaginable horror. After killing his victims, he would bury many of their bodies in the crawl space beneath the house, while others were discarded in nearby rivers. The secretive nature of his crimes and the sheer number of his victims made the investigation into Gacy's activities a complex and chilling puzzle for law enforcement. As the number of missing boys in the area began to rise, family members and the community grew increasingly alarmed. The police received numerous reports of disappearances, but Gacy maintained his facade, effectively eluding suspicion. In 1975, after the disappearance of 15-year-old Robert Piest, the investigation began to take a serious turn. Piest was last seen leaving work at a pharmacy, eager for a job that Gacy had promised him. The police, fueled by growing concerns and mounting evidence, began to focus their attention on Gacy. What followed was a painstaking investigation that would unravel Gacy's carefully constructed life. Detectives interviewed Gacy several times, but he remained calm and collected, denying any wrongdoing. However, the police were not easily deterred. They discovered that Gacy had a criminal past, including a conviction for sexually assaulting a young boy in 1968, which added a sinister layer to their inquiries. The turning point came in December 1978, when police obtained a search warrant for Gacy's home. What they found inside was staggering. The crawl space beneath the house was filled with the remains of his victims. The stench of decomposition was overpowering. Over the course of the investigation, police would recover 29 bodies from Gacy's property, some buried under the floorboards, others discarded in the nearby Des Plaines River. The horror of Gacy's actions sent shockwaves through the community and the nation. As the grim details emerged, Gacy's trial in 1980 became a media sensation, capturing the attention of the entire country. The courtroom was filled with reporters and onlookers, all eager to witness the trial of one of America's most notorious serial killers. Gacy's defense team attempted to argue that he was insane, claiming that he was a multiple personality disorder sufferer. They portrayed him as a man unable to control his dark urges, attempting to shift the blame for his horrific actions. However, the prosecution painted a different picture. presenting Gacy as a cunning and manipulative individual who had committed his crimes with premeditated intent. The trial revealed the gruesome details of Gacy's life, including testimonies from survivors who escaped his clutches and heart-wrenching accounts from the families of the victims. Evidence mounted against him, including photographs and personal belongings belonging to the missing boys found at his home. Ultimately, the jury found him guilty on all counts, and in March 1980, he was sentenced to death. Gacy's execution was delayed for years as he fought numerous legal battles, appealing his case several times. He remained in prison, where he continued to proclaim his innocence and maintained that he was a victim of a flawed justice system. Yet, the evidence was undeniable, and the impact of his crimes reverberated far beyond the courtroom. On May 10, 1994, after 14 years on death row, John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection. His death marked the end of a chapter in American true crime history that would leave an indelible mark on society. Gacy's case sparked discussions about the nature of evil, the failures of the mental health system, and the responsibilities of law enforcement in protecting vulnerable populations. The chilling legacy of Gacy's crimes persists, serving as a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a friendly facade. His ability to blend into the community while orchestrating a nightmare beneath his home calls into question the very nature of trust and safety in society. Gacy's story has become a cautionary tale, often revisited in documentaries, books, and discussions about serial killers, forever etched into the annals of true crime history. In the end, Gacy was more than just a murderer. He was a monster who preyed on the innocent, leaving behind a trail of grief and horror that would haunt families and the community for decades. His case serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within seemingly normal individuals and the need for vigilance in our communities, ensuring that the stories of victims like those of Gacy are never forgotten.